There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're on, baby.
Oh, I'm going to turn it off.
I downloaded your deal, so they should be on, and then you should be able to hear them too.
Okay.
Yeah. We got Friday
Two-way, huh?
two-way, huh? I think we're getting it.
Okay, you guys, just come to class, and then we wouldn't have this problem. Okay, I guess we're recording sooner than I thought. On the board is, I'm going to double check for me. I'm pretty sure we are. I better put this up here. All right, good to know. The quote number 7, hint, hint, quotes will be turned in sometime soon. Will not say when. So make sure you have those on a separate sheet of paper. And there's some quick notes on the ethics creed of Aristotle, and I'm going to go through that, and then I'm going to read a bunch of things and point out some things for you about his creed. I call it a creed, his ethics printing of information. Okay, on the board behind me, what is the highest human good? Well, it's a Greek word up there. Can you pronounce it for me? How would you say? Eudaimonia? Eudaimonia? Well, anyway, it's Greek for happiness. Virtues come in two kinds, intellectual and moral, and the soul is comprised of three kinds. And this is Aristotle's from his teaching from previous individuals. They're passions, faculties, and character. Passions would be your emotions, your drives. The faculties would be things that make sense, be like your mind. And he changed them slightly from one of his teachers. The teacher before him was Plato. And the character are, how your character is revealed is through your actions. Okay, two major points that I want you to get written down somehow. One of them, the first one I'm going to read to you, it's a little bit long. I'll read it a couple times, and then on the video, you perhaps could stop it and replay it a couple times. But on his first major point is on the word good. Good has rightly been declared to which all things are aimed. Now, if you get that much, you'll get the gist of the whole thing. Goods has rightly been declared to which all things are aimed at. In other words, even though some people say, and some of the scholars say, we are born with evil, good is the center or the aim of all things. But found among the ends of good are activities. If they do not match your actions, they become wasted and not good. That's his statement. The main part again, good has rightly been declared to which all things are aimed, but found among those things, you could say, he says in the ends, how you got there, why you got there, the journey to get there. If they don't meet, in other words, your actions, they are all wasted. They usually, in his case, in actually book 3, which is not even in your text, says they can't be attained, they're wasted, they're almost evil. Okay, one more time. Good has rightly been declared to which all things are aimed. But found among those are that he calls, quote, ends, E-N-D-S, are activities. And if they do not match your actions, they're wasted. I suppose your activities could be the things you're doing, the things you watch, the things you protest, the things that you do in everyday life. Uh, for me, I know one of my things that does not do me a whole lot of good is drinking those Dutch Bro or roaster coffees every single day. At $5 a coffee times 30 days a month adds up to a few dollars. Anyway, major point number 2. So it's a lot shorter. Uh, and if you remember, Aristotle talked about the golden mean. This has to do with that. And he just uses the word mean. To find the mean between extremes of excess and not having it, and he calls it deficiency. Trying to find, again, find the mean, that's the quote, between extremes of excess and deficiency. In other words, you either have too much of something or not enough. Finding that happy mean or middle ground or moderation, remember from last class, moderation, moderation, moderation in all things. Trying to find that for yourself, not for me, because mine might be a little different than yours, but if you can happily find your mean and not hurt other people, then you have succeeded in finding the mean. Simple as that. Once again, finding the mean between the extremes of excess and deficiency. And don't ask me why, but I have no reason why you use that word deficiency. In other words, it's just if you don't have it. So sometimes in order to find your means, we search overboard. I don't need a lot of things. I'm a pretty simple person, you might say to yourself, so I can live without that. And actually, you probably should have it. I'm thinking for myself, sometimes certain medicines, I want to get off all of my medicines. And I used to be on 8 different medicines, and 4 of those were for preventive measures down the road. And now, technically, I'm on 3 medicines. And changing of diet, changing of attitude, of course, things change over years and get better medicines, or you just get better. Like I contacted asthma, lasted about 10, 12 years, and then just mysteriously went away. And I, to be honest, didn't really pray for it to go away. It just kind of went away. And I'm pretty thankful for that. Okay, now I would like to move to on page 58 in your text. There are several inserts from his ethics that I want to read and talk to you about. And the first one is found on page, actually page 59, right in the middle. And I just want to take the time to read it to you. If then there is some end of the things we do, there's that word, which we desire for its own sake, everything else being desired for the sake of this one end. And if we do not choose everything for the sake of something else, the process would go on forever and ever. So that our desire would be empty and vain, clearly this must be good and the chief good. Will not give you knowledge until later when you discover it. Now I'm paraphrasing some of this. These will all have great influence on your life. he makes this point. Shall we not, like archers who have a mark to aim at, be more likely to hit upon what is right? If so, we must try, in outline at least, to determine what it is and which of the science or capacities will get us that object. Now, in the Greek world, Aristotle's time, the sciences and the knowledge of science were really, really important. How, as another teacher earlier said, how you got there matters more than what the end is. Now he says, once you get to the end, what science or what technique did you use to get there? And you need to understand that so your soul can be satisfied, so you can be satisfied. Okay, page 61. Okay, this is kind of off and on throughout the whole thing. I'm going to be starting in the second paragraph. For Plato, too, was right in the raising of this question and asking, as he used to do, are we on the way from, or are we at the first principle? To the first principle. Are we there, or are we already been there and we're leaving, to go to the next principle? Just keep that in mind for a second while I read on. Hence, anyone who is to listen intelligently to lectures about what is noble and just, and generally about the subjects of, here we go again, political science, must have been brought up in good habits. Do we agree or disagree with that? If you have those virtues of this, something in your life has gotten you there, and what he's saying, we have good habits, so something brought us there. Maybe it was your family, maybe it was just plain luck, but it was something. And he's going to rule out really luck. The man who has been well brought up has or can easily get to starting points. What do you think starting points are? Can you tell the class what you think they might be? Say again. Okay, that's a starting point. She said circumstances you're born into. Okay, let's go further into your life. Okay, you were born, I'm saying here in Tri-Cities and all this stuff. Now you are 14 years of age. Is there another starting point? Now you are 16. Is there a starting point that changed things or made things even better or worse? Those are the points. Can you think of anything in your life? I mean, I know there's been probably several things that's changed your directions and kept you going. You have anyone you want to share? I'll ask you one. When did you truly know you were a Christian? What starting point? What got you rolling? I could tell you mine, but you got a starting point? Same question. You guys out there too. As Christians, what got you started? There had to be a set of circumstances. You can't really say the minute you were born you were a Christian. Maybe you were destined to be one. I don't know, but Stahl? If you're like me, it's an ongoing process. But there was a starting point. Okay? There was a starting point for you guys and you guys out there to come to this school. You had to sign some papers, you had to pay some money, you had to make a decision. But that was a starting point. See, the starting points are all over the place. And in this case, coming to this college was a good starting point. This 2-year program is going to lead you to probably another 2 years of something else somewhere else, and that's another starting point. Okay, back to our question of being Christians. My starting point was how I was raised that you brought up, but I didn't know it at the time. My folks and my sister and I faithfully went to church, and we had to go to Sunday school. It's like we had to go, okay? They would drop us off, and then our parents would come back for the service. But to me, that was the starting point of my exposure. Being that young, it doesn't, all make sense. But it was a fun thing. We were Lutherans. Our particular church always had activities, things to do. So, man, I was looking forward to it. And then they would slip in a few things about God and Jesus and how to behave and all that kind of stuff. So there's my starting point. Now, you guys are young adults. Got it yet? You have several starting points. You really took off at a certain time. Okay? I'll just leave it. Unless you're ready. Last chance. Oh, okay. Here we go. Moving on. Another example here. Paraphrasing again, the man who has been, I already read this, been well brought up, man or woman or people, has been brought up, has or can easily get starting points. Okay. What then is the good of each? He's talking about starting points. Surely that for those whose sake everything else is done, here's some examples. In medicine, the result is health. In strategy, it's victory. In architect, perhaps a house. In any other sphere, there's always something else. There's, in every action, the pursuit of the end for what is the sake of this. Okay? So, he's saying, if you want to be famous, there's things you have to do. If you want to be rich, and rich comes, in many different ways, but you have starting points to get there. If you want to be a business person and get started in some form of business, you've got to have an interest in something. And that's all he's saying is that no matter what it is, if it's in the arts, the music, the education, the science field, the basic things, hopefully you remember those 9 basic motives of life. They're scrambling back there to find them. But think about it. Everything is moved on to the end. Okay, what if you reach the end? Is that it? Think about that as a thinking question. Okay, you got to a target you were after. One of my targets was, as a sophomore in high school, it was very prestigious to make a varsity athletic team. And even though it was a goal, I had a starting point back. I can remember thinking this in the 4th grade because somebody did something really neat for me. I went to a very, very small elementary school, and the 7th and 8th grade basketball team was short of guys. Of course, girls weren't allowed to play, but I got drafted, sort of to speak, as a 4th grader. But to be honest, and not to be too braggy, I was pretty good, and I could beat a lot of 7th and 8th graders. So anyway, once that happened, I realized, oh man, I'd like to take this skill on to the level, and I want to make myself happy and people around me, and I want to show off that kind of thing. So, with that in mind, here we go. On page 63, bottom, and then the top is 64. Since happiness is an activity of soul, just like up on the board there, good is accordance with the perfect virtue, we must consider the nature of that virtue. Clearly, the virtue we must study is human virtues. For the good we were seeking was human good. That's kind of like my story. And the happiness is human happiness. So back to my basketball story. See, that was a virtue, and I was too young to understand what I was doing, but I knew in me it would make me happy and make me worthy. But as a fourth grader going into the fifth grade, my intellectual level wasn't that great yet. All I cared about was the end result. By human virtues, we mean not that of the body, but that of the soul. So he's saying, don't get that mixed up. Happiness also we call an activity of the soul. But if this is so, clearly the student of politics must know somehow the facts about the soul. Why throw in the word politics? Do they mean the political arena? The politics of everyday life, the politics of things around them. You have to understand that if you're going to move and keep moving with action. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, page 65. Okay, this is on the board, and make sure you have this in your notes. Virtues, too, also meaning, is